During the events of 2004's Alien vs Predator, it was the Predator leader Celtic who led his two brothers Scar and Chopper on their tribal initiation to hunt and kill their first xenomorph prey. This ancient centurial ritual was the rite of passage each new clan member had to pass in order to become a blooded warrior, meaning they would be considered adults within their society, and would also earn the hunter's most powerful weapon, the Plasmacaster. On this hunt, however, the three were unsuccessful. Although Scar did technically become blooded, he would die shortly after. Celtic was the second of the three to die after battling the Xenomorph Grid. But what if this didn't happen, and perhaps instead it was him who killed Grid, or if the Xenomorph had retreated instead of continuing its attack, so Celtic doesn't die at this point in the film? Well, if he killed the Xenomorph, obviously the first thing he would have done is mark himself and his biomask with the blood, making Celtic an official blooded predator, and he would have been the first to do this as Scar hadn't yet done it at this point. After that, he would have had to have found his way out of that pit with all the human remains in it, which must have been where they dumped all the ancient civilization people who had sacrificed themselves. He may or may not have gone back to find Chopper and check if he was actually dead or not. I wonder what they would do with the body of one of the other predators if one of them fell, whether they'd just leave it there, or maybe like we saw in AVPR when Wolf finds the crashed scout ship, he looks like he pays respect and then he implodes the ship. Perhaps in their backpack with their medicomp and stuff, they might have some of that blue liquid from AVPR, and they could use that to dissolve a dead predator if one of their group is killed in the pyramid, which would be better than just leaving their sibling there to rot. The three predators in this movie are normally referred to as the brothers, so I'm not sure if that means they are literal brothers or if it means more spiritually, like they are clan brothers, just meaning that they are from the same group but not literally related to each other. While we don't see Scar discovering either of the other predators' bodies in the movie, he must have known they were dead as he sets his self-destruct going, but I wonder what he actually did with them, whether he'd have to dispose of the bodies somehow or if he'd just leave them there. Perhaps if Scar hadn't blown up the pyramid, the predators on the ship would have had to clean up the area and kill the remaining xenomorphs, and then they would retrieve the bodies while doing that. So then after that, Celtic would have probably gone on to regroup with Scar. There are a couple of possibilities that could have happened if he met up with Scar again. Would he have seen that Scar was impregnated with an alien? Well, in the movie, despite the clan members at the end not knowing he had a chestburster in him, this was because they weren't wearing biomasks. But in the part where Scar and Lex find Sebastian, Scar can see the chestburster inside him with his biomask vision, so it would be likely that upon meeting back up with Scar, Celtic would have noticed he had an alien inside him. So then would he have to kill Scar to prevent the chestburster being born, or would they be able to remove it when they got back to their ship? Obviously the two working together would have a better chance of survival, but then again, if they weren't quick enough to reach the surface and a predalien were to be born, it would alone serve as a death sentence for Celtic. If they did team up, Scar wouldn't have sided with Lex and she would have died alongside the other humans. Although in a lot of material it is stated that after surgical removal of a chestburster, the host will still die shortly afterwards, as during the process of the alien's development it alters the DNA of the host as the infant alien is created by restructuring their cells. This process will typically leave behind illnesses such as cancer. The only time in the movies a xenomorph has been successfully removed was in Alien Resurrection, but Ripley 8 had inherited the xenomorph's advanced healing abilities as a side effect of the cloning process. Whether or not a Yautja may have sufficient healing abilities to recover after the removal, or if their medical technology is advanced enough to cure any such illnesses is not confirmed. In an earlier version of the script, after the Queen impales Scar, the dying predator realises there is a chestburster inside him and tries to stab himself in the chest. Scar reaches for his ceremonial dagger but is just too weak. Lex helps it into his hands, and for a moment Scar holds the blade before his own chest, almost as if he intended to stab himself. It's a striking image, but one that will make little sense until the end of the picture. Scar, in Lex's voice, the enemy of my enemy, Lex, is my friend. And then Scar dies, the blade falling unused by his side. So it depends on if Celtic would just kill Scar upon discovering he was impregnated, or if he would join back up with him to increase their chance of survival but risk the predalien being born. And then after all that, would Celtic make it out alive, or still die, but later on in the film instead? It's down to your own personal interpretation if Celtic will live to the end or not, but from a filmmaking perspective, I think they would have had him killed off later on in the film. Perhaps by Grid if they met again later, or maybe even by the Queen. Maybe there could have been a scene where we see Celtic and Scar meet up again, and then we see from Celtic's perspective where he looks at Scar and sees the chestburster inside him, and then he raises a weapon to attack him, but then the Queen comes out and impales him like with Bishop in Aliens. I think that would make for a really cool sequence. But what do you think would have happened if Celtic, the Predator leader, didn't die so early on in the film? Do you wish he lived longer, or were you happy with how it was presented in the film we got? The way I think about it is that it's kinda like in Aliens where they kill off Apone fairly early as he was the Marines leader, so killing him removes the chain of command, making things feel more chaotic. Make sure to let us all know what your thoughts are in the comments. Remember to like the video, and you can now become a channel member, which is now available from as little as $1.99, and I'll catch you in the next video.